Asher, a being of ancient power shaped into the form of a young man, was new to the mortal plane. He was practicing his integration into humanity when he saw a woman floundering in the currents of the Blackwood River. He recalled the advice of an elder from his own kind to accumulate merit through good deeds in the human realm. As he prepared to subtly use his power, an old man scrambled down the riverbank, grabbing his arm with surprising strength. The man pleaded with him, his voice cracking with panic, insisting that a life was at stake and he must help. Asher, committed to his role, shed the oversized flannel shirt he'd acquired and dove into the cold water. He hauled the woman to shore. She was heavier than she looked, and she lay on the muddy bank coughing, her whole body shaking. Through it all, her eyes kept darting towards him. The old man thanked him profusely, his grip still tight on Asher's wrist. Suddenly, a small crowd materialized from the trees, their murmurs growing as they pointed between Asher and the sputtering woman. One of them, a stout woman in a floral dress, stepped forward. She declared that since he had seen the girl in such a compromised state, he was now responsible for her future. A chorus of agreement rose from the others. Another added that the girl's reputation was ruined and that the only decent thing to do was to make it right, suggesting a hasty arrangement. Asher was baffled by their logic. He had saved her. Why did he owe her anything more? It was then that a sharp voice cut through the noise. An older woman, elegantly dressed despite the rustic setting, strode towards them. She pointed an accusing finger at the crowd, stating she knew exactly what they were doing. She called them out for orchestrating a scheme to marry off the girl to the first handsome stranger they could entrap. The truth of the situation crashed down on Asher. He remembered the S about human cunning. The girl on the ground, seeing her act was failing, scrambled to her feet. She grabbed his sleeve, tears welling in her eyes, and explained that the world was cruel to women and that now, having been seen in such a state, no one would have her. She made a show of turning back toward the river, implying she would rather end her life. One of the men dramatically held her back, scolding Asher for his heartlessness. Asher tried to reason with them, pointing out that she was fully clothed and that they had all seen the same thing he had. A large man jabbed a finger in his face, growling that he would be married, one way or another. Deciding the complexities of human society were too much, Asher resolved to erase the entire event. He discreetly wove a spell behind his back. As confusion clouded the faces of the crowd, he turned and walked away. After 100 yards, he glanced back and saw that the woman who had defended him was following him. He wondered if his magic had failed. He asked the woman if she needed something. She offered a gentle smile, noting that he was wearing her son's shirt and must be a friend of his. She observed how soaked he was and invited him to her home to change. Asher, remembering the shirt was not acquired honestly, claimed he had found it. The invitation stood. Upon learning he had no place to stay, she offered him a room in her house. Her name was Eleanor, and she explained that with her son, Caleb, away on business, she and her husband were alone and would enjoy the company. The room Asher was given was spacious and filled with sunlight, a stark contrast to the dark, damp places he naturally preferred. The house itself was a testament to quiet wealth, the furnishings exquisite. Eleanor provided him with 2 sets of clothes she said were Caleb's old ones. They were made of fine material, with subtle, intricate embroidery along the cuffs and hems that hinted at a value far beyond that of simple cast-offs. He learned that Eleanor and her husband, Robert, were a handsome couple, their features possessing a refined sharpness that set them apart from the other locals. For 5 days, Asher settled into the peaceful, elegant rhythm of their home. On the 5th day, A tall figure appeared in the dining room doorway during lunch. The man's clothes had the same understated quality as the ones Asher wore, and it was instantly clear that this was the son, Caleb. Asher stood and offered a polite smile. Caleb was strikingly handsome, having inherited the best features of both his parents, but his brow was furrowed with displeasure. His gaze fell first to the clothes Asher was wearing, then flickered to Asher's face with a flicker of surprise before he looked away, refusing to meet his eyes again. Caleb bluntly asked his mother who Asher was. Eleanor, unperturbed, smacked her son's shoulder and pulled him aside for a whispered conference. Asher, feeling awkward, tried to eavesdrop, but to his astonishment, his supernatural hearing failed him. Their words were an indecipherable murmur. Robert calmly gestured for him to continue eating. Not wanting to intrude, Asher excused himself and returned to his room. That night, he was startled awake by an instinctual sense of being watched. He called out, but the house was silent. After a search of the hallway revealed nothing, he went back to sleep, only to be jolted awake again by the same feeling. This time, he searched the entire property. As he passed Caleb's room, the door opened. Caleb stood there, his jaw tight in the moonlight, his expression hostile. Asher, maintaining his guise as a polite guest, apologized for the noise, explaining he had felt a presence outside his door. After a long pause, Caleb's voice, low and strained, told him he was being paranoid. Asher offered his name, and Caleb reluctantly returned his own. The silence that followed was heavy and absolute, and Asher quickly made an excuse to leave. The next morning, Asher went into the nearby town of Havenwood, hoping to find a way to earn money. At the local farmer's market, he saw an array of tempting foods: pies, fresh donuts, ice cream, but with no money, he could only ask what they were called before moving on. Later, he was drawn to a crowd gathering around a makeshift stage where a local troupe was performing a historical play about a passionate, tragic love affair. The depth of human emotion was a curiosity to him. As he watched, he heard a young man nearby remark that one must be bold and persistent to win the person they love. Asher glanced over and his eyes met Caleb's, standing a few people away in the crowd. Caleb immediately looked away and then disappeared. His attention was then caught by a snippet of conversation about the old Miller house being haunted. The locals spoke of disembodied screams and chilling cries. Asher saw an opportunity. He found the house and offered his services to the gaunt, exhausted man who answered the door. After a small demonstration of his power, a flash of light and the dissipation of the oppressive energy clinging to the house, he was welcomed inside. He found a tuft of cat fur in a corner and confirmed the source was not a pet. That night, after sending the family to a motel, he waited. A shriek pierced the darkness, and a shadowy form fled the house. Asher pursued it into the woods. He cornered the entity, the spectral form of a woman, who then condensed into a calico cat. It was a Filja, a guardian spirit. He warned it against harming humans, but the spirit hissed that Mr. Miller had caused the death of its charge, a young girl, and had escaped justice. It would have its revenge. The Filja attacked with surprising force. As they fought, Asher realized he was outmatched. Just as the spirit lunged for a final, decisive blow, a dark figure appeared and struck it down with effortless power. The Filja lay stunned on the forest floor. The man, his face obscured by shadow, turned to Asher. Asher tensed, recognizing a power that could destroy him instantly. The man's hands moved over him, and when they touched a deep scratch on Asher's side, he flinched. The man's hand lingered, a strange warmth flowing from it that healed the wound completely. Before Asher could react, the man tossed a handful of leaves into the air, and in the moment of distraction, he vanished. The next morning, after collecting a generous payment from the millers, Asher returned to the house. At breakfast, he noticed 2 strands of calico fur on the cuff of Caleb's shirt. The realization was immediate and chilling. Caleb was the masked figure. The entire family was not human, and their power dwarfed his own. Fearful of their true intentions, he went to his room and packed. As he turned to leave, Caleb was standing in the doorway, his presence utterly silent. Asher stammered that he had to go visit a friend, thanking them for their hospitality. Caleb simply told him not to go. He seemed to struggle for words, his face flushing slightly, before saying that his mother would miss him. Asher softened, promising he would return after he took care of his business. Caleb nodded, then produced a small bowl of oatmeal. He said his mother had made it and insisted Asher have some before he left. Asher, not wanting to be rude, took a spoonful. It was delicious but had a strange, metallic tang. He asked what was in it. Caleb looked at the floor and mumbled it was for his health. After another bite, Asher recognized the coppery taste of blood. Caleb finally looked up. He quietly admitted it was his own. A searing heat flooded Asher's body. Caleb's eyes held a reddish glow as he explained that dragon's blood had a potent, coercive effect on beings like him. The bedroom door slammed shut of its own accord. Caleb moved closer, his voice a low murmur. He confessed his attraction, his awkwardness, his desperation at the thought of Asher leaving. He admitted he had watched him every night. Overwhelmed by the potent magic in his veins and the raw power radiating from Caleb, Asher was trapped. In a desperate bid for escape, Asher let his human form dissolve, reverting to his true shape as a great, dark serpent. Caleb was unfazed. He too transformed, his body expanding into that of an immense, winged dragon, its scales the color of midnight. He coiled his body gently around Asher's, lifted him through the roof of the house, and soared into the sky. Far below, Asher saw Eleanor and Robert standing in the yard, looking up with peaceful smiles. High above the clouds, under the cold light of the moon, the dragon's power was absolute, and Asher's resistance melted away into the vast, silent dark. When he woke, he was back in his room, alone. Shaken and overwhelmed, he scribbled a hasty note of apology and fled into the wilderness. He moved several towns over and, using his abilities with discretion, found a position as a deputy with the local sheriff's department. He excelled at the work, earning the respect of his colleagues. One day, while tracking a dangerous fugitive into the forest, he realized his quarry was a minor, predatory spirit. Before he could handle the situation, a zealous young man, a self-proclaimed exorcist, burst onto the scene. The man dramatically banished the spirit and then turned his attention to Asher, loudly denouncing him as an unholy creature. Asher's partners drew their weapons, their faces a mixture of fear and betrayal. He tried to reason with them, but the young exorcist attacked. Asher was forced to use his power to escape, easily disabling his pursuer. He demanded to know why the man was so hostile, insisting he had done no harm. The exorcist declared all his kind were a blight. Their fight was interrupted by the arrival of an older, wiser man, the boy's mentor. The elder chastised his student for his recklessness, pointing out that Asher's aura was one of benevolence, not malice. He offered Asher compensation for the loss of his livelihood. With nowhere else to go, Asher accepted the man's offer of sanctuary at his secluded retreat. A few nights later, a shadow fell over him as he slept. It was Caleb. His voice was a low growl in the darkness as he asked how he'd found him. Caleb explained that he was an old acquaintance of the mentor. He moved over Asher, his hands undoing the buttons of his shirt. He said that Eleanor believed it was his poor performance that had driven Asher away, and he intended to do better this time. Asher protested, but Caleb was relentless. He fed him another drop of his blood, and the familiar heat consumed him. Caleb took him to a private estate he owned nearby. In the days that followed, he led Asher through the house to a hidden door behind a bookcase. It opened into a vast vault, a cavern filled with mountains of gold, jewels, and priceless artifacts from every era of human history. Caleb held him from behind, his lips brushing Asher's ear. He explained that all of it was his now. For his kind, the offering of one's hoard was the truest declaration of courtship. Asher was stunned into silence. He had never imagined such a thing. Over the next 2,000 years, they remained together. Caleb's power shielded him, and his wealth provided them with endless freedom. Asher continued his path of accumulating merit, and with Caleb's help, he weathered the trials that elevated his own power to a near-immortal state. After one such trial, Caleb presented him with 2 ancient scrolls. They were a contract, a magical oath that would bind their life forces together for eternity. Asher noticed that one clause was unequal. If Asher were to perish, Caleb would follow, but the reverse was not true. When he questioned the imbalance, Caleb held him close, his voice soft with a vulnerability Asher had rarely seen. He confessed it was because he knew Asher still harbored doubts about the longevity of his affection, and this was the only way he knew how to prove his absolute commitment. Looking at him, Asher knew it was true. His own feelings had grown deep and undeniable, but a part of him had always prepared for the day Caleb would tire of him. In that moment, the last of his reservations dissolved. He told Caleb such a sacrifice wasn't necessary, that he believed him. Caleb simply smiled, saying he knew. He gently took Asher's hand, pricked his own finger on Asher's thong, and let a drop of blood fall onto his contract. He did the same for Asher. Head to head, he whispered the ancient words of the vow, and Asher found himself repeating them. The scrolls flared with golden light and vanished into ash. A profound connection hummed to life between them, a bond that transcended time and mortality. As the magic settled, a familiar heat began to stir within him. Asher looked at Caleb with mock accusation, realizing he had intentionally used his thong to draw blood. The dragon's only answer was a low, rumbling laugh as he drew him closer.